The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, others, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to the RM Hive. You're tuning into Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. I'm Brittany, and today we are delighted to be joined by Lee Sato, the author of Hornet's Nest, book one of the Jara Quinn series, right, Lee?
Yes, it is.
All right, so this gripping thriller follows Jara Quinn, an FBI agent whose life was forever changed by the tragic loss of her parents in college. Driven by a need for justice and shaped by grief, Jara built a life of purpose. But her past catches up with her when her first love, Katerina Lansing, reaches out in desperation. All right, so I'll leave it at that because Lee
Okay.
is here to share with us this brilliant and amazing series. So Lee, thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to discuss about Hornet's Nest, the first book, and the whole series if you want.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be
All
here.
right. So Lee, can you make a quick introduction of yourself before we go to the main part of the interview?
Okay. I'm Lee Sato, as people know, and I am living with my partner of 20 years, 20 plus years, and I worked for years with the gangs, and then I went on to working at a psych hospital for about 10 years, and then I worked with crimes against children, teaming up with the FBI and DHS, and with regarding child pornography, human trafficking, and all
Oh.
the happy things that go along with that. And so there, I had to retire in May of 2017
Mm,
due to some severe medical issues regarding migraines
okay.
and some other things. And after healing and recentering, I decided to go back to my first love of writing. And
Writing.
so I started, not started, but went in back into my writing.
Okay. So the FBI, you mentioned the FBI. So is that where you based Jara Quinn's?
Definitely. Um,
Yeah.
I worked for a state agency with crimes against children, and I got the wonderful privilege of working with some fantastic FBI agents,
Ooh,
and
okay.
getting to see their process and
Mm-hmm.
the behind the scenes things. And we were able to, I think, do a lot of good. And there's not a lot of, it's not like television where you get, the glory and the credit and you see all these exciting things. There's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of process. And so
Yes, of course.
I really learned a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it they just, I just have the utmost respect for
Yes,
the
of course.
FBI and all those agencies. They work very
Because if
hard.
you ask me, it's not really about the awards. It's about making a change and
Right.
saving people. That's what
And if you
matters.
save just one, I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough. And one thing with the writing, I get closure with
Mm-hmm.
my stories, whereas in my work, I didn't get a lot of closure. We got justice
Oh,
once in a
okay.
while, but we didn't really get closure a lot. So
Yes, that can happen. Now, Lee, let's begin with the
okay.
first book. For those who are just discovering the book here at the RM Hive, can you tell us what Hornet's Nest is all about?
Hornet's Nest is about, like you said, Jara Quinn and
Mm-hmm.
her just being in the FBI, and she's wrapping up a case. Um, she lives in Newport, Rhode Island, which I love the New
Portland.
England, and Newport has just been, it's like a second home to me. And
Oh, okay.
she was she had kept in touch with her first love from college, from
Mhm.
Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame also. And but they stayed friends. They became friends instead of continuing the love relationship that they had. And things happened where
Okay.
Katerina, who the love interest, her father
Mhm.
decides to run for president, and the family
Okay.
is not happy. And her grandmother then passes away unexpectedly, and there's some suspicion behind that. And so Jara is
Mhm.
called in by Katerina to, hey, can you help me figure this out? So she's not really an
Mhm.
FBI agent during this case, but she then it becomes an FBI case
Oh, so
book.
Katerina asked for help first before she became an actual FBI agent, right?
Well, she asked for help
Okay.
before the FBI became involved in the case.
Okay.
Katerina
Okay.
or Jara was always an FBI agent. She just couldn't. She wasn't assigned to this case. It just became a political twist, and so then she got assigned to it.
Yeah, because running for presidency and then her grandmother, so they suspected there was a foul play. Was that the right
Right.
term? That there's
Correct.
a foul play beneath it. Okay.
Right. Right.
So what inspired the idea for this book, this series actually, because it's a series? What inspired the idea, Lee?
The initial book, the
Mm-hmm.
idea was actually a dream I had years ago. It was a literal dream,
Mm-hmm.
and I woke up and I was like, wow, that was kind of cool. That was kind of a cool idea. I'm gonna write some of this down. Well, at the time, I
Mm-hmm.
had a very long commute. It was
Commute. Where
yeah,
were you headed,
from
if you don't
from
mind?
my well, I lived in Columbus, Indiana. Well, I
Okay.
lived in Columbus, Indiana, and then worked in Marion County in Indianapolis, and then I switched. Lived in
Okay.
Indianapolis and had to work in Columbus. It was very bizarre, but I worked all over the state, and so when I
Mm-hmm.
was in the car, instead of listening to the radio, I wrote the book in my head.
Oh
And I
wow.
just continued it and continued it. And then finally, I decided I need to write this down. And I wrote, little notes here and there and different pieces. And then once I retired, I went back to that and I looked at it and went, I'm going to put this together and
Mm-hmm.
finish it up. And I got a fantastic editor. Um, Krista Hill, and
Chris.
she's an independent editor, and
Okay.
she made my writing come alive. She was an inspiration, and it just kind of went from there with my love of the FBI, and I wanted to put the romance
Mm-hmm.
into it also. Um, like I said before, I am with my partner for 20 years, and we
Yes,
had that
20 years.
situation where we were friends, and then we were kind of separate for 5 years and came back together, and have been together ever since. So I kind of shoved that in there. Um, and the book and the series follows
Mm-hmm.
Jara and Katerina through a lot of different things, different cases, um, different issues in their relationship, um,
Yes.
through life, through life. Um,
That's really incredible. The fact that it all started with one dream,
one dream,
a dream that you had.
right?
Then over the years you wrote bits and pieces, and then
Hmm.
you, did I get that right? You based it a little bit from the story with you and your partner of 20 years, right?
Right. On
Yeah.
us, on kind of on some cases that I worked
Okay.
on,
Mm-hmm.
little bits and pieces here and there, um, and just went from there.
That's truly
Hmm.
amazing. So, oh, Lee, I see a comment here from a viewer. Let me show it
Okay.
on the screen. It's from Honey Smith. Were
Okay.
there
Hi,
any
honey.
real world events or experiences that influenced the political and investigative aspects of the novel?
Um, the political part, yes.
Mm-hmm.
there was a situation that in the book, the foundation that Katerina's grandmother started years ago
Mm-hmm.
was losing money, and they found that somebody was siphoning off money,
Oh,
and
okay.
they thought that it may be Charles, who was running for president, because he kept
Mm-hmm.
asking for money. And so that was and he's, running for president. There's a lot of secrets involved. There's a lot of twists to it. Um, and yes, there were a situation where there was some shell companies that were involved in a situation here in Indiana. It wasn't necessarily regarding politics. Politics were involved, but it had to do with human
Okay.
trafficking here in
Mm,
Indiana.
okay.
And so there were shell companies that were funding that. And so I kind of took some of those
Mm,
experiences and went from there.
okay. So, honey, I hope that answered your question, and
I hope so.
that's some heavy stuff. And I
One of
see
the,
another. Yes.
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please continue. I think
Well, there was
yes.
a piece at the very beginning of the book that Jara explains a case that she was just on, and
Mm-hmm.
that she's still getting ready to do the court thing, and it was regarding a human trafficking case. And although that's based on real life things that
Real
I
life, yeah.
participated in,
Mm-hmm.
investigating,
Mm-hmm.
but I just moved it into different states and different ways of travel.
All right. uh when I started talking just now, it was about, I see another question here from
Okay.
another viewer. It's from Tajwana. How did you approach balancing the romance and suspense elements throughout the story?
Um, I think that all of life needs balance. And so it can't be all just work and not all
Mm-hmm.
just life and romance and
Yeah.
in I know in my 20 years of it wasn't all roses, and it definitely wasn't a fairy tale and glitter and rainbows all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And there were issues regarding my life and my cases, and
Yes.
my partner's a nurse, and so as part of her life and her cases
Mm-hmm.
also, which doesn't make for great dinner conversation because it's kind of a
Yeah.
downer. Um, but what I did with the book is I tried to make it as realistic as possible, of
Yes.
where there is, there's romance, there's love, there's arguments, there is disagreements, there's opinions, and but I also like the twists and turns of a story and making it um, so you don't guess you think in the first chapter
Yes.
or two who's going to be what, but I want the twists and turns because that's life. Life is a
Yes,
twist and
that's
turn.
life indeed. But now that you've mentioned the contents of the book, Lee, I actually
Hmm.
read the book a little bit. The first line, as I've mentioned during the
Yeah,
our little talk before this interview, the little line, the first line that really intrigued me. I've had, what was it again? I've had my fair share of killings
I've
in
done
my
my share
lifetime.
of killing in my
Yes.
life. I'm not bragging, mind you. I only did what I felt I needed to do.
Woo.
In my eyes, everything I killed deserved it. So why was I so conflicted?
Yeah, that line, when I read it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want to ask you about the latest book, which I believe
Okay.
is right here on the screen. It's
Right.
Forbidden,
Forbidden.
right?
Correct.
So, which book is this? Hornet's Nest is the first book.
Correct.
Second book is
Forbidden.
Forbidden. All right. So, let's
Right.
talk about Forbidden.
Okay.
What was the initial spark or idea that led to the creation of the second book?
Um, it was a continuation of
Mm-hmm.
the first. It takes their life and continues. Um, and I don't want to say too much about Jara ends up needing to be reinstated to the FBI at the
Oh,
beginning
okay.
of Forbidden due to some reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up on a task force investigating a serial murder case that is
Mm,
allegedly already closed, but murders are continuing to happen. And
okay.
um, so she becomes involved with the Connecticut State
Mm-hmm.
Police and the New York Police Department detective from there, and they become a task force to investigate all of these things. And if you think that the first line of the first
Mm-hmm.
book is creepy, the prologue of
Yeah.
the second book is creepier. So, because the
Oh,
second
okay.
book is a little darker, it's a little bit darker, um,
I like stories like
and
that
it's dark, and
personally.
and they're both twisted, but this one is twisted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now you got me curious. I hope the viewers are as curious as I am. I'm gonna read it later. Now, now, Lee, when you wrote the series,
hmm
what was one of the most surprising things that you learned when you during the process?
Um, well, I wrote I say two and a half because I'm working on the third, but I wrote them all in longhand on legal pads. I didn't use a computer. I wrote
Ooh,
them out by hand, and um, I felt a deep connection there with my characters and with everything. Um, and what surprised me the most was for my birthday, a few years back, my
mhm.
partner took me to New England, to Newport,
New England.
and to Connecticut and New York, and we actually stayed at the in Newport Harbor, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I was very melancholy. I wasn't depressed.
Melancholic.
I was enjoying it, but I was just melancholy. And she's like, "Well, is it the weather or what's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. I mean, I don't get it." So we ended up in Manhattan to visit a friend of
Mm-hmm.
mine, and we were to fly back, and our flight got canceled. And my friend Quinn said, "Hey, I'd like for you to meet an author friend of mine, and she would love
Mm-hmm.
to go to lunch with you." So I go to lunch. My partner and I go to lunch um, with her, and we were sitting there, and she looks at me and she goes, "Do you like your characters?" And
Ooh.
I looked at her. I'm like, "Do I like my characters? What do you mean? Do I like? I wrote them. Oh yeah, of course I like them." She goes, "No, no, 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 no. When you're not writing, do
Mm-hmm.
you think about them? Do you miss them?"
Like
And
as you
like real
humans,
people,
as
if
real
I,
people, yeah.
it's like I'm gonna miss talking to you. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I do miss them." And I just burst into tears, and I'm like, "I do." And she's like, "That's why you felt like this when you were in
Melancholic.
Newport, is because they weren't there. You were
Yes.
looking for your
Okay.
characters and they were not there. They're real to you, and in your books you're trying to make them real for people, but
Yes, of course.
we're looking around. Jara is not in an apartment in Newport. Katarina doesn't live in the big house in Connecticut. They're not there. And so it really hit me hard
Mm-hmm.
that, oh wow, they aren't real. I mean, they are to me. They're very
Yes,
real
you
to
brought
me,
them to life.
but they're not there in flesh and blood. And so that was the most surprising thing I'd ever thought I would go through in the process of all of this.
Yes, that is one unique experience. Well, after all,
It
you've
was
mentioned
interesting.
how you wrote this book. It took years. It you wrote bits
Years.
and pieces over the years, and now you finally published it. Now that you've retired,
Right.
yeah. So Lee, we're about to end the interview. Can you tell the
Okay.
audience where they can find a copy of Hornet's Nest and Forbidden and the
Um,
rest?
they're both on Amazon. They're both Barnes and Noble has them, both ebook and a hard copy, and it's just in paperback form. We don't have a hardback.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
my publisher is Launch Point Press, which it's now doing business as Penlight Press because they merged with another house.
Hmm.
And you can get the ebook there. So you could do Launch Point Press, or you could go to my website, and there's links to those places also.
Yes, right on the screen. If you
Right on the
guys want to
screen.
connect with Lee.
If you want to connect with me, just there's a section on my or on my website that you can send an email, and I'll get back with you. And if you want a signed copy, let me know, and we can work something out.
All right. So, Lee, thank you so much for being with us today. Hornet's Nest is a riveting story of justice, love, and the courage it takes to face the truth, even when the truth is dangerous. All right. So, everybody, that's a wrap on today's featured author interview. To our wonderful
Okay.
audience, thank you for tuning in here at the RM Hive. Be sure to check out Hornet's Nest by Lee Sato, book one of the Jara Quinn series, and also Forbidden. They're all available on Amazon and on Barnes and Noble. Did I get that right?
Yep, and yeah,
Yep.
anywhere small
Yes.
bookstores are picking them up. So just go in and ask to order it.
All right. So this has been Brittany, and as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. See you around, everybody. Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you very much.